What's up, y'all? We're back. Shady, G-Unit, Aftermath, Saturday. My man Stat Quo. Yes.
Now in the early 2000s, Eminem's popularity was at its peak. During this time, he put out a lot of good singles and albums that many consider classics to this day. However, Eminem isn't just known for his music skills. He also has an amazing eye for talent. In 1999, Eminem introduced the world to Shady Records. The record label was founded by him and his manager Paul Rosenberg, and D12 were the first acts that they signed. In 2003, Eminem started looking for new artists to sign, but instead of signing them to Shady Records, he created a joint venture with Dr. Dre's Aftermath label called Shady Aftermath. And the first artist they signed was none other than the In Da Club artist 50 Cent. Stat Quo was the second artist signed to Shady Aftermath, and he was signed towards the end of 2003. Before signing with Eminem, Stat Quo was building a name for himself in Atlanta. He was releasing his underground Atlanta mixtapes for public consumption, and eventually Eminem got a hold of one of these mixtapes. After hearing a couple of songs, he thought Stat Quo would make a great addition to the team, and it wasn't long before he became the second member signed to Shady and Aftermath. During his time on Shady Aftermath, Stat Quo appeared on a lot of the label's projects. He made 3 appearances on Eminem's The Re-Up. He was featured on Young Buck's Straight Outta Cashville, and he also had a really good verse on a track called Spend Some Time off of Eminem's Encore.
I recorded Spend Some Time. Em started writing a song, and like he'll write in patterns. Rhymes, when he writes them, it looked like artwork on the page.
Stat Quo's career in Shady Aftermath looked promising at first, but it didn't take off like we expected it to, leaving fans wondering what happened to Stat Quo. Now in 2005, Stat Quo released his single Cold Like Dat. The song has a lot of bounce to it. It was clearly intended for the clubs. The song was supposed to appear in Stat Quo's debut album Statlanta. However, the album was reworked multiple times and the single was left out. It eventually came out on the soundtrack to Midnight Club 3, remix soundtrack, and the NBA Live 06 soundtrack. Now this single was supposed to help build a buzz for his upcoming album. However, the reception to the track was lukewarm. I personally thought the track was pretty good, especially if you play it today, but I think the general consensus is this track didn't take off the way it was supposed to. Now as for why Statlanta didn't come out on Shady Aftermath, Stat Quo places the blame entirely on himself. Sometimes. Now a lot of people used to think that Dr. Dre is the reason that Stat Quo's album didn't come out, but according to the man himself, his album on Shady Aftermath didn't come out because he was struggling to find an identity. Stat Quo started making music to appease Dr. Dre and Eminem instead of trying to make music that got him signed in the first place. The more popular an artist is, the more a label will try to push their projects. So Stat Quo felt like he didn't develop enough of a buzz on his own, and if he had done so, his album would have been more of a priority for the label. People try to blame Dre. It's not always Dre's fault. I was on the shelf. That was my fault because I didn't pick a side. I came in there a certain type of way. Then I started trying to make music to appease them, instead of trying to make music to appease the people that got me in the door. I came from the underground Atlanta, making a certain kind of rap. People loved me for that. And then I got around Dre. I started trying to make that sound like 50 and what they was doing. I should have just stayed in my lane and kept doing what I was doing, and the people would have forced it out. With Kendrick, the people forced it out. They could not hold it. Game, the people forced his album out. They could not hold it. All these people I talked about picked an identity. Game's a blood, 50's a gangster, Kendrick's an intellectual. You know who they're rapping to when they rap. Stat Quo was all over the place. That's not Dre's fault, that's my fault. Now even though it seems like Stat Quo takes full responsibility for not promoting his album, he has said the total opposite in another interview.
If it was up to Paul and Em, my albums would have been out, but it was Dre.
Stat Quo does believe that he would have been able to drop an album on Shady Aftermath if Dr. Dre wasn't involved. Dr. Dre is a perfectionist, and he takes a lot of time when it comes to putting music out, and this desire to pay attention to every detail is one of the reasons Stat Quo's album didn't come out on Shady Aftermath. Now another reason why Stat Quo's album didn't come out is because of a disagreement he had with Eminem. Eminem and Stat Quo had a disagreement over a song called Dance on It. At the time Stat Quo was recording songs for his debut album on Shady Aftermath, Eminem wrote the hook for the track, and gave it to Stat Quo to recite. However, Stat Quo didn't like Eminem's hook, and he made sure Eminem knew how he felt about it. After arguing back and forth about the hook, Eminem got mad, and the two of them decided to leave it at that. My album would have come out, but I up. There was a song called Dance in it. M wrote the chorus, and M wanted me to say the chorus. I thought it was not good. If I would have said, yeah, that's it, that's the one we're going with, I would have gotten my album out. But I tried to be on some, nah, I don't like that. That ain't a hit. I was really arguing with the top selling rapper of all time on what a hit was. What a dummy idiot I was. My exact quote was, I'll put it out if you stay on the hook. And then I said, give me $1 million and I'll put it out. And when I said that, me and Eminem went like this. It was a rap. He was mad as, and Dre was like, yo, you made him mad. And then like the next day, I apologized with tears in my eyes because I'm watching my career go down the drain.
By the time it was my moment to come out, the wave that we were all riding was on a downturn.
So the label decided to focus on the artists that were actually making money instead of taking a chance on a new artist that had not proven the ability to sell records. On October 2008, Stat Quo left Shady Records because he felt like his album would never come out under the label, and he figured he'd be better off as an independent artist. Now it appears as though Stat Quo wasn't bitter about his departure from Shady Aftermath. At the end of the day, he knows that it's all a business. The label chose to focus on the artist that already had a buzz instead of investing in him. Now at the time, Stat Quo was asked whether he still keeps in touch with Eminem and Dr.Dre, and he said the following: "It wasn't a falling out, but no, I haven't talked to them. I have spoken to the other artists and people at the label. I think M kind of expected me to be bitter about the whole situation. But when he was sick and I sent him a card, I think that kind of threw him for a loop. I ain't that kind of dude. This is a business, and I understand that, and I'm not going to sit around and be bitter. That's just not my style. If they were talking about me, it would be different. But it's cool, and I with them. We are cool from my understanding. If I see them out in the streets, it's all love. I'll ask Emma and Dre about their kids, and they would do the same." Soon after leaving Shady Aftermath, Stat Quo got to work on new material, and in 2009 he finally got to release his album, Statlanta. The album was released under producer Sha Money XL's company called Dream Big Adventures. The version of Statlanta that got released isn't the original version that was recorded under Shady Aftermath. The album was reworked at least 3 times, and the final version that we got is completely different from the original. Stat Quo claims to have the original version of Statlanta in his possession, but it doesn't look like he's going to release it anytime soon. Now it appears as though Stat Quo has repaired his relationship with Eminem and Dr. Dre. He appeared in an HP commercial alongside Dr. Dre to promote Dre's Beats brand in 2010, and in 2011 he became an official writer for Aftermath Entertainment. Now from 2011 onwards, Stat Quo was very active. He did a lot of features. He formed a label with the game called Rolex Records, which was later changed to The Firm, which was finally changed to Blood Money Entertainment because Rolex wasn't too fond of the rapper using their name without their permission. And on July 26, 2013, the game shared the following via Instagram. "So after a 6-long-month legal battle with Rolex watches over the name Rolex Records, we lost and had to fully change the name of the label and its logo away from the likeness of Rolex's crown and stay away from any and everything resembling Rolex. Can't use the Rollie Boys or Rollie Records either. But today, a new regime starts. And I'm officially the CEO of The Firm, and we are looking for elite artists to be a part of a new movement." Now a lot of people don't know that Stat Quo was the executive producer on the game's Jesus Peace album, and he also executive produced the game's first official mixtape after leaving Interscope Records called Operation Kill Everything, which came out in 2013. Stat Quo would continue to release music over the years. He released an album called FUPM Is the Future in 2013, and in 2014 he released an album called ATLA All This Life Allows. Stat Quo worked on Dr. Dre's 2015 album called Compton. The album was a commercial success. It sold 295,000 copies in its first week, and even though it wasn't detox, this album gave the fans the much needed Dr. Dre music that they so longingly desired. Now, even though Stat Quo worked with Dr. Dre on Compton, he is not a fan of the album. Stat Quo feels as though Compton was great in terms of quality, but it failed to capture the world the way Dr. Dre's Chronic album did. It's not that it wasn't put together quality-wise, it's not that it wasn't quality beats and like that. It just didn't capture the attention of the world. The only reason it got where it was because the movie Straight Outta Compton was so phenomenal. And that's no diss. People think if you don't like something, you're dissing it. I love Dre. He's my everything. I helped him, but that don't mean it's the just cause I helped. We fucked up. Now, I personally liked Compton. I feel like the fans' expectations for Detox were way too high. Dr. Dre pushed the album back so much that it became a myth, a legend, and if he released Detox and it flopped, his career might have taken a little hit. Now, it seems like Stat Quo didn't learn from his first mistake. The reason his single with Eminem didn't get finished is because he told Eminem he didn't like the song. You would have thought he learned his lesson by now, but he jeopardized his opportunity once again by telling Dr. Dre that his new album is not good. Stat Quo's Spotify page gets about 100,000 monthly views. These numbers are not bad considering he hasn't put out a lot of material in a long time. His YouTube page only has one video up. However, you can find his newer material on various channels. It appears as though Stat Quo doesn't need to rap anymore. Like I said earlier, Stat Quo does a lot of work behind the scenes. He works as a manager for hip-hop artists. In fact, remember that little kid that said Tupac was boring? Yep, that's right. Stat Quo is Lil Xan's manager. That's it for me, man. It's your boy Ali. What happened to Stat Quo in your opinion? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you have any video requests, be sure to let me know down below as well.